I had multiple aborted attempts at doing live streams today. I just got back to my house. You can tell my hair is a little crazy. And I'm going to delete every single one of them because they were terrible. Mm, I needed something to drink. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what had happened today, what I'd done. No big drama or anything, just like to give updates on like local community activism because social media and LNC drama is not all there is to politics, believe it or not, as interesting or as tiring as it can be. So today I was supposed to be down at the storage facility. I'm working on historical stuff. And the decision, as I said in an earlier stream, and I'm deleting all of those aborted streams, by the way. So the decision I said I had to make was self. Do you want to go down to the storage, which you hadn't been in a while, so you probably should, and bury your head in history, which makes you very, very happy, or go out and join the canvassing effort. I'm going to talk about what the canvassing was in Broomfield and actually potentially be a part of history. And I was like, well, I know what is more useful for the party right now, and it is actually going out and doing something. But speaking of the storage, holy crap, the storage facility raised its rent by like 35%. So now I got to find another facility here in Colorado that, is somewhat affordable because the last thing, right now, there are certain people on the LNC who think they can get to me through the History Project, which is just like a sucky attitude, but it's been tried multiple times. So, but also just to be a good steward, I need to find someplace way, way cheaper and not give them an excuse. But the fact is, as more and more gets scanned, there's absolutely no way to get to me through the History Project because what I care about is it being preserved online. Sure, the physical documents are great, but I reconciled myself a long time ago to the fact that the party's not going to keep these physical documents forever. Excuse me, I have to cough. I ate a candy before here and it didn't go down right. Pardon me. And I know that they'd probably end up in, like, say, a university or something like that at some point. So, you know, that's gonna happen one day no matter what. And as long as they're scanned and out there, like, I'm happy. Ugh, I'm happy as a clam at high tide, so it's become almost impossible to get at me through the History Project. The History Project's at a point where it will live on no matter what. It will live on without me as well, in case I ever just got tired of it, but it will live on no matter what, which was my goal. But boy, ridiculous, ridiculous rate raise. So I'm going to talk to them. Hopefully it was an error, but if not, I'm going to be telling them, yeah, no, we're moving. And moving might not be such a bad idea. Right now they're in Parker. I don't live in Parker. I didn't make the choice a facility to be in close proximity to my home. I did it where it was a decent neighborhood and it was affordable. It's still a decent neighborhood. It's no longer affordable. So I don't really care where we move it. It could be farther away from me. In fact, I know there's a bunch of volunteers in Colorado Springs, I think, who would be thrilled if it ended up getting moved to Colorado Springs, which is further for me, but that's not the primary consideration. If it's closer for volunteers and it's cheaper for the party, that's the consideration. So I asked them to give me a couple weeks to find a cheaper spot. Um, so there's that. Um, but I didn't go down there today. That's a long way of saying that. Instead, a lot of you may not know, specifically a particular LNC member who needs to stop prying into my personal life and making like diagnoses. I don't think they realize how intrusive, insulting, and pathological that is to do to somebody. But no, my entire life is not wrapped up in the Libertarian Party. I actually have a lot of things I'm doing now, and have been for a while. And one of them is something I got involved with maybe a year and a half ago, and that is RCV Colorado. because I became convinced Libertarian candidates are not going to win until we have alternative voting. So I've been involved with RCV Colorado for a while. We're setting up a petition drive in Castle Rock. Um, there's a lot of other things I'm doing. So you all know probably who this person is. And I really wish that my name would just never come out of their mouth again, unless it's, we're working together and there's some kind of like professional interaction. But making speculations about my personal life is so inappropriate and unwelcome. But we tend to think it's okay when it's not sexual. It's not okay. It's never okay when people pry into people's personal life and the other person tells them it's unwelcome. It's not okay for people to be making diagnoses about people when other people say it's not welcome. We've got like a huge problem with that in the party. But then, but what do I know? Right? What do I know? It's just gross. So today, RCV, though I did get to work in the Libertarian Party with it, as you can see, because and originally my effort today was going to be completely nonpartisan. But as luck would have it, I found out we were going to be canvassing in Ward 2 of Broomfield, Colorado. And it's a nonpartisan town council race there, but we happen to have a Libertarian running there and in Ward 2. So I was like, well, then I'm putting on the Libertarian shirt. And while I'm doing the RCV stuff, if I get to talk to the actual Libertarian in the home, we'll get to that again too, how I ended up only talking to Libertarians for the most part, or the loved ones of Libertarians. We, I would promote the candidate as well. So it was wonderful because there were Democrats out there too, and they were lip dropping for their candidate along with RCV. So I'm like, if they're doing it, I'm going to do it. And I made it clear, like, nope, I'm not here for your Democrat shit. Okay. That's fine. I'm here for RCV. I don't support what you're talking about at all. Okay. But we're all in support of RCV. That was the common ground. And we've got to be willing to do that, to find common ground. And in Colorado, it's the Democrats that support RCV. It's crazy to me that the Republicans here do not support it. We are a blue state now, maybe purple sometimes, but we're not a red state. That's for sure. And RCV helps the non-majority party. So why the Republicans, I think, are still living in the delusion that this is a red state. But the Democrats are the ones in support of it, and good for them. And here's what's fantastic about Broomfield. Broomfield's both a city and a county. So it's a city that's a county, kind of like Denver, which is a city and a county. Their town council, I mean, kudos to them. Their town council unanimously voted to put RCV on the ballot. So there was no petitioning necessary. The town council was completely behind it. Contrast that to Castle Rock, where I live, which is much more conservative county. It's Douglas County. The town council here wouldn't even put a presentation on the agenda. They wouldn't even give us 5 minutes to talk about it. Never mind sponsor it to be on the ballot. But they were oh so eager to sponsor those tax increases for parks at gunpoint, pretending like they were neutral on it, and then pass a resolution supporting it and spending all kinds of taxpayer money supporting raising taxes. It is so gross. That's why I'm running for town council in Castle Rock. And something else that was gross about the town council in Castle Rock, there's this one lady on there, and she's not my district, but she heard the opposing testimony. It was mostly Wayne and I. But when it came time to vote, be a professional. Fine. You disregarded our testimony. You disagree with us. But for town council members to vote in such a way that rubs it in the face of the citizens that are there, that they totally disregarded their comments, is so unprofessional. So she said something like, enthusiastically, yes. Like, basically, it was a big F you to Wayne and I. And it's like, that is so unprofessional. Like, we don't even do that on the LNC. Like, when there are people in the gallery speaking out against something, and then it comes time to vote on it, the people who are on the opposite side don't rub it in the face of the people in the gallery. You have to show them some respect, even when you disagree with them, and it was so immature. Things like that just that really, again, not my district. So even though I am running for town council, I'm not running against her. My district town council lady, who I don't agree with on a lot of things, but I will say she's always professional. Like, she never acts like that. She answers all emails, and she was willing to hear me out on RCV. No one else was. Now, it could be just because she was my district representative. I don't know. But she doesn't act like that. I disagree with her just because, like, she's all about raising taxes for parks and things like that, and I just don't that's not the proper function of government, if any, type of thing. So, she's not unprofessional, though, like, Miss St. Fleur, who's not but if any of you here in Douglas County or Castle Rock, and that's your representative, she acts like a child. But, none of the other ones I think another one said something like that, but not quite as stridently as she did. But there will be some new town council. No, there actually wasn't town council elections this year. It's 4-year terms on even years. Damn it. I thought there would be a change, at least in some of the town council members this year, that maybe we could get RCB on the ballot. Guess not. So we'll be petitioning, I guess. Fudge, 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 fudge. I got confused with that. So Broomfield, if this measure passes, which if you're in Broomfield, Colorado, and you haven't voted yet, flip your ballot over, because something the state did, and I don't think it was malicious, it's just because it's the state and they're not competent. Ballot question 2A is on the back. It's the only thing that's on the back, and a lot of people are not flipping their ballot over because the front of it doesn't say that there's anything on the back. So please flip your ballot over. And I'm not saying they did that maliciously, because if they were, like, opposed to 2A, I mean, they want people to vote no, right? It was just dumb state stuff, government being inefficient type thing. But if this passes, Broomfield in Colorado, for the state of Colorado, I'm not making any statements about the whole country, will be the first county and city to elect its entire town council through RCV. Boulder just passed RCV, but it's just for the mayor. And that's what we were originally going to do in Castle Rock. We were going to petition with the selling point, we're just going to try it out for mayor. But if they're making my happy ass go out there and petition and get thousands of signatures because they refused to put it on the ballot because they basically said it's too confusing for voters. Well, I think voters are smarter than our town council. Then we're going to go for the whole thing. I'm not going to collect thousands of signatures just for one office. And that's where they're just not thinking. If they're threatened by RCV, they should want to bargain so that it's just for the one office, so it can be tried and the town, I mean, can ease into it. Because if we have to petition, we're going to try for everything. So that's why Broomfield is so important to me, besides just being a supporter of RCB. It's important to me because how Broomfield goes might be a predictor of how Castle Rock goes. If Broomfield loses, it's going to be difficult to sell it elsewhere. So we'll just keep trying. We'll try again in Broomfield. I don't know, because I'm doing this live stream through Restream Studios. You can tell this is like a different setup, the background. I don't think I can see your chats. If anyone here is watching, could someone please comment and I can see if I see your chats? Because I don't think they're coming through. Either that or you guys are super, super silent, which is unusual. Usually you at least say hi. So will somebody please comment? And if you've been commenting all along, I haven't seen it, send me a private. Okay, well, I guess you guys are just quiet because I just saw the breakdown with Birkenhoff and I just saw JJ. Okay, you guys are just quiet. Thank you. It solved, though, my question, because I'm like, is the chat not working? Because I'm not used to this. I'm not used to using Restream to broadcast. I use it usually as a pass-through. Okay, so where was I at? So how did I end up just talking to libertarians? Oh, and I see you guys are up on screen too. Yay. All right. I don't know how that happened, but there you go. The they had walking lists, and I said to them that, see, and there, look, it's showing it there. Okay, I'm just experimenting. And I see Mike Seebeck. Okay. So I said, why don't you just give me the libertarians? Like, you have it broken down by, registration. Just give me the libertarians. I go, I'm the most qualified out of this group here to talk to the libertarians. We have our own language and secret signals, and we sniff each other's butts and all of that. So just let me talk to the libertarians. Plus, my other motive was, you got all these Democrats out here combining doing RCV with shilling for their candidate. Well, I'm going to shill, I'm a shill, right? The LNC removed me for being a shill, not a very good one. I'm allegedly profiteering and can't even pay my bills, but I'm a grifter. I'm a shill. So I said, like, I'm going to shill for our candidate then. Okay. So I got the list of libertarians. One thing that's depressing about getting the list of libertarians is, unlike everyone else who had a walking list that they could just park their car and walk, the libertarians are not all. There isn't a libertarian on every block. Let's just put it that way. You had to get in your car to go from libertarian to libertarian, but that's okay. So I did get to talk to some libertarians who were fantastic, and every single actual libertarian, and I'll clarify what I mean by that, that I did get to talk to, none of them had voted yet, because that's just how libertarians are. Half of them just don't vote in Colorado. Colorado libertarians are like, yeah, we love what you're doing, now leave us alone, type of thing to the party. They register, and that's the extent of their effort. And it's unfortunate, but I get it. Okay, I get it. I don't blame them in a way, but we need them to vote. But why I said actual libertarians, a lot of times the libertarian wasn't home, but the significant other of the libertarian was home. And why I say significant other, and how I know they weren't also libertarians, like this really neat program they had we were using called Minivan identified every libertarian in the household. So I knew it was just the one libertarian. Sometimes it was a couple, but if I got, the lady coming to the door with the baby and the dogs, but the program I had only showed, a gentleman being the libertarian, the spouse wasn't a libertarian. So I did speak to a lot of the significant others of libertarians as well. And a lot of them had voted, and they were all very polite. I mean, I got no nasty responses at all. Everyone was super, super polite. And none of that, like, I figured I was going to get some of that, like, really paranoid libertarian thing, like peeking through the peek hole, maybe opening the door with a gun or something, but none of that. None of that. And man, Coloradans love their dogs. I've already figured that out with the seasonal delivery job that I'm doing, where, like, every house has a dog. Like, boy, Coloradans love their dogs. Now, I love dogs, so, like, no shade, but I really even realized it today. Like, if you were ringing the doorbell and you weren't sure if it worked, you knew it worked because the dog ended up being the doorbell. And I see Squire 412 says I don't know if he or she, assuming he lives in Broomfield, because with libertarians, I got a 70% chance of being right. You live in Broomfield and voted for 2A. I sure hope it passes. It's a great bill. And when I was driving around, and again, I was driving around mostly in Ward 2, which is like all those streets that are named after like gemstones, emerald, garnet, opal, all of that. And then the ones named after ladies like Daphne and, all of those streets. I got to learn that neighborhood pretty well. And I love it. It's so cute. What a cute little area of town. Like, I loved it. Has some age to it. Like, I don't like new developments. I like the older style. There was a lot of tri-levels. There were some actual ranches, because this drives me crazy at Wayne. Ranch is an architectural style. It is not any one story. Not all one stories are ranch houses. Oh my Lord, that drives me crazy that Coloradans do that. Ranch is a certain style. It's a one story, yes, but it's not all one stories. Like, I lived in a one story in Florida, and it was not a ranch. If your house has a cathedral ceiling, it is not a ranch house. Just letting you know. And I hear the MLS no longer calls all one stories ranches anymore, and I'm glad because I don't know why. Because I like love architecture, it drove me crazy. I don't know how I got off on that. Oh, because there's a lot of like actual ranch houses in Broomfield that were just lovely early 70s architecture. I just loved it. Okay, so I did the Libertarian list. Again, it took a while because I had to do a lot of driving, and some of those houses were hard to find, and some were apartment buildings. Like, and I was a trooper. I'm like, I'm not skipping the apartment building. I'm going to park and go up the stairs, and I'm going to talk to that Libertarian. Okay, so it was fun. Um, and again, positive. So I sure hope 2A passes. It will be a big, big deal. If you are in Ward 2, there is a Libertarian on the ballot, even though it's a nonpartisan race. It's Brian, last name spelled Peotter. You know, if you haven't voted yet, he would appreciate your vote. I'm sure. And from what I understand, he's got a good chance. I'm bummed though, because I'm going to be working on Tuesday night with the seasonal delivery job. And the reason I don't get too specific about where is because even though like it's so convoluted, nobody could harass my employer. I don't want people even trying, you know, because there are some like obsessed haters I have out there and I just don't want to deal with it. They'd never figure it out because this weird web of like independent contractors, but I just don't want to deal with it. When I'm no longer doing it, like after the season, I'll talk about it. Because there's a lot of real fascinating things I learned. So Tuesday, I'm working. I normally do an election live stream. I want to see how the statewide measures go. And Mike Seebeck, I owe you a huge debt of gratitude for that research you did for 78. It was fantastic. If you watch the show I did for 1360 KHNC earlier today, you'll see that I used nearly everything you wrote and then added some things to myself of my own, because I actually agree with the Democrat talking points on this as well. And I added that on there. But yeah, so I did a whole thing on vote no on 78. Unfortunately, I think 78 is going to pass, and there's going to be so many unintended consequences. And I don't see how the Tabor Foundation is saying that they don't see any Tabor implications, because the Bell Policy Institute sued to keep it off the ballot this year because odd number years are only supposed to be for things that impact Tabor. And the court said it impacts Tabor. The court said it impacts Tabor. So the court sees it. When there's like in doubt, vote no. Okay. Like, I think it's a solution looking for a problem, and it's going to cause a bigger problem. And I actually, besides Mike, besides what I came to the conclusion, besides it creating a Tabor exempt slush fund, I actually think it's the camel's nose under the tent to try to keep adding duties to our legislature so that there's then going to be a push for a full-time legislature rather than the part-time legislature that we have now. That's where I think it's going. And nobody has really mentioned that except the Democrats, oddly enough, who love government, like are saying, do you really want a full-time legislature? Weird that Democrats say that, but they're the ones saying that, and the Republicans are ignoring that. It's like clown world here between the Republicans and the Democrats in Colorado. I don't get it. Okay, so what else did I want to go over with the Broomfield thing? I wish I could have gone out a couple more days. Oh, but what they're asking me to do, RCV Colorado, is record a message, since I'm a well-known libertarian, that will be played on the robocalls to the libertarians in Broomfield. So that's kind of cool to be asked to do that. And to the Greens, like they're asking Howie to record one. So I'm LP famous now. So yeah, I'll be doing that. Yeah, I'll encourage everyone to really watch the the show earlier today, even if you're not in Colorado, because I think the way Mike broke down Amendment 78 and then the little bit that I added, it's mostly his work. I did some at the end, will help you in analyzing things in your own state as well. And I think that's it. Unless there are any questions or comments, we're supposedly maybe going to be able to see the aurora borealis from Denver tonight. Now, I know Mike decided not to come up because it said it was going to be rainy and cloudy. I don't see a cloud in sight. So I think Wayne and I are going to go try to see it. We'll let you know. And Mike, get with me so I know tomorrow. We are doing Cult of RONR tomorrow, you guys. So if you've been jonesing for that, we'll be doing that tomorrow. We might be taking the big test just to see how we do, maybe. Mike and I haven't really talked about it too much, because the next 2 weeks, I'm gonna be out of town. And I think that is it. Any questions, anyone? And I'd like to also know your thoughts if you enjoyed that show I did with Eric, um, last night. I'm gonna do multiple shows like that with LNC members that are willing to talk about ballots or, uh, LNC candidates. So I've asked Todd Hagopian, who's running for treasurer, because even before I had a beef with Tim with this whole suspension thing, because let me tell you something. I know Tim's viewed as the perpetual nice guy. He never once bothered to try to talk to me about any issues, and I cornered him and invited him to call to talk to me, and he just voted with the herd. Never once did he bother trying to talk to me. I'm sorry, someone like that doesn't belong on the LNC. You can hate me all you want for saying it, because I know everyone thinks Tim is just the nicest guy. He's a little weird, but the nicest guy. No, he wouldn't even bother to talk to me, even when I very nicely cornered him and said, "Tim, shouldn't we have a conversation?" No, he just voted with the prags. And you wanna know what? My eyes were blinded that he always does that, but I liked him so much before that I never noticed it. But let's pretend that wasn't an issue. He's been in that office too long. You know me, I think 3 terms, 3 consecutive terms for anybody, no matter how great they are in an LNC seat, is long enough. They need to take a break. They can come back to that seat later, but I think he's on his 5th term or something. We need a new treasurer. We just need new blood. Even if you have no complaints with him, it's just too long. It's too long. There needs to be a change up. And I say that for all positions, everybody. And as I said, if I am reinstated and then rerun, or I'm not reinstated and I rerun, that's my last term as secretary consecutive. I'll take a break and do something else. Doesn't mean I'll never run for secretary again, but that will be my last, because I hold myself to my principles. 3 consecutive terms, even though mine was kind of broken with this suspension, I'm not gonna use that as an excuse. Um, and I think everyone's pretty much doing that. I think Steve Nicaula's in his 3rd consecutive term, and he's gonna go do something else. He's gonna run for at large. We need to break it up, and we need to build our bench, and having the same person as treasurer for that many terms is not healthy for the party, even if they were like Jesus Christ of treasurers. And he ran unopposed last time. The 3rd largest party in the country should have no seats running unopposed. So Todd Hagopian is running against him. I have endorsed Todd Hagopian. And I'm going to have him on the show to talk about some financial stuff. So my eyes will probably roll back in my head. I'm not as dumb with the financial stuff as like I pretend. I just find it really boring. I used to be the treasurer for Gold Coast Via de Cristo. I was the bookkeeper for Service Merchandise for over 10 years. Like, I've done accounting. It's just not my favorite thing to do. And I did it before computers. I did it when you had to do it on paper with the actual double columns. And then when you got the penny off and you're going, "What okay." So I'm not as dumb as I play with the numbers. It's just not exactly my thing. All right. I think that is it then. Yeah, you can send me feedback at pinkflameofliberty@gmail.com if you think of any, or if you have any show ideas. Oh, and speaking of that, for patrons, there is access to my private Discord channel. However, if you're a friend of mine, because I do my more intimate posts now in Discord, because doing it on Facebook was just haters were using it against me, and I mean legitimate haters. I'm not talking about people who are critics, because some of my best friends are critics. Like, a critic isn't a hater. But some, like, actual haters were using it against me. So now I just do it in Discord because there's a little bit of a barrier to entry there. However, if you're a close friend of mine and becoming a patron is just not something you can do. There's a financial barrier. I do not want that to be a barrier to have that more intimate relationship with me. So just talk to me privately about it and I'll grant you access. Okay. If I know you, we're friends, and it's just not in your means to become a patron. I don't want there to be a financial barrier um, for good friends. I think you all get what I'm saying. Um, so I've been discussing the JC appeal thing in much more detail on Discord, on my private Discord channel. JJ, you're doing trick or treat, so you're not going to be hanging out with us for Cult of RONR? I'm thinking of doing it in costume. Should I dress up as Xena tomorrow? I haven't done it in a while. I always get a hankering to put on the Xena outfit, and it has lots of boob. Like, it really, it lifts the girls. It lifts the girls really high to chin pillows. So yeah, let me know if you want me to be Xena parliamentary princess tomorrow. Let me know, because it takes a while to get strapped into that costume. Like, Wayne has to lace me up, and it's hard to get all the architecture, the architecture. So let me know if you want me to be Xena warrior parliamentary princess tomorrow. I might do that since it is Halloween. Mike, do you have a costume? Like, if you come in costume, I'll definitely do a costume. Otherwise, like, I'm kind of lazy. Oh, so JJ gives out treats. We don't ever get any kids here. Like, I'm gonna talk Wayne into getting some treats though, just in case. Like, we do get kids, because otherwise we're like the Scrooges who like turn off the lamp and like don't answer the door, the outside thing. So there's one vote for Xena. It's an authentic Xena costume. When I say authentic, like, this was back a long time ago when I was miserable, so I bought things to fill the, like, miserable hole in my heart. So there's this costume maker who does, like, legitimate costumes for Hollywood productions. I'm not even gonna tell you how much this thing costs, but this was like, I bought this like 15 years ago. But it's legitimate, like, authentic Xena costume. It's not Party City, in other words. So, yeah. Oh, well, Mike, let me know if you want me to do Xena tomorrow. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go because I think we're gonna go try to see if we see the aurora. I wanted to have an uninterrupted discussion about RCV, and yeah, I'm gonna delete those aborted videos. They were terrible. You guys have a good night. I got to figure out how to end the stream with this particular program, and I'll see you for Cult of RONR tomorrow. Bye bye.